All right, lesson 5-2, dividing polynomials. So by the time we're done with this lesson, we should be able to divide polynomials using long division and synthetic division. Now before we get into those two different methods, we are going to talk about dividing with just a monomial to start with. So if we take a look at our first three problems, it says to simplify, and again we're assuming no variables are 0. So we just need to make sure that we are applying our power rules that we learned in the previous section. Now if we take a look at problem 1, so we don't have to worry about any positives and negatives, so we have a monomial divided by monomial. So we're just subtracting the powers, dividing the numbers like we normally would. Okay, so 4 divided by 2 is 2, so that's going to go up in the numerator. We're subtracting the exponents and putting our answer where the larger exponent was. So 7 minus 2 is 5. Simplified answer goes into the denominator. So this would be x to the 5th. And then even though we don't write it, we're assuming there's a 1 there. So 5 minus 1 is 4. So 5 is larger, it's in the numerator, so that's where our simplified answer goes. Nothing else that we can do to simplify, so this is our final answer. Now in the next problem, we have a trinomial divided by a monomial. So it's trinomial because we have 1, 2, 3 terms. So remember, a term is separated by a plus or a minus sign. So when we are dividing into something that's bigger than a monomial, we have to make sure that we are taking the same thing out of every single term. So if I decide that I'm going to divide everything by 3, then all of these terms have to be divided by 3. Or if I'm going to take an x out of every term or divide by x, I have to take an x out of every single term. Okay? So when we are looking at this, the 6, the 12, 18, and 3 are all divisible by 3. So for the numbers, when we start simplifying, I'm going to divide each one of those terms by 3. Okay? Now for the x's, the highest x that I can divide out is going to be an x to the first power, since each term has an x, and our lowest power is a 1. Same thing with the y. I can take one y away from everything. So when I'm dividing, I'm going to divide every single term by 3xy. So 6 divided by 3 is 2. X to the 4th divided by x, so I'm taking 1x away, so that's going to go down by 1 power. Same thing with the y, I'm taking 1 y away, so that'll become y squared. And I'm not going to have enough room, so I'm going to rewrite this underneath it. So this will be equal to 2x cubed y squared right now. Go to my next term, same thing. So 12 divided by 3 is 4. I'm taking an x away from this one, so we will have an x squared. I'm taking a y away from this term, so we'll have y to the first. Then I go to the next term, do the same thing. So negative 18 divided by 3 is negative 6. I'm taking one x away, so we would have an x left. I'm taking one y away, so we're not going to write it at all. And then in the denominator, I have to remember to do the same thing. So 3 divided by 3 is 1. I'm taking away both the x and y away. So this would be over 1, but we never write something divided by 1. So this is our final simplified answer because we're not able to combine any more terms together. So third one is going to be a similar process. So we have a trinomial divided by a monomial. So when I'm dividing all 4 of those terms by the exact same thing. So the 8, the 6, the 10, and the 4 are all divisible by 2. And then as I'm looking at the x's, I can take an x squared out of each term, and I can take one y out of each term. Okay, so let's start with our first term. So 8 divided by 4 is 2. Oh, excuse me, we're dividing out 2. So 8 divided by 2 is 4. I'm taking away 2 x's this time, so I'm subtracting this power by 2. So that means that it's going to go away. And then I'm also taking away a y. So the first term, we're just going to have 4. Sorry, let me rewrite that. So 4. And then we're going to go to the next one. So again, we're dividing by 2. So again, we're dividing by 2x squared y. So negative 6 divided by 2 is negative 3. If I subtract 2 from 3, that will just give us an x. And I'm taking one y away from that, so it'll become y to the 4th. On to the next one. So 10 divided by 2 is 5. I'm taking away 2 x's, so I will have 2 left. I'm taking away a y, so we would have 1 left. And then I have to do the same thing to the denominator. So 4 divided by 2 is 2. I'm taking away an x squared and a y, so we're not going to have any of those left. So this would be our final simplified answer. All right, and if we take a look at our last example, we have a trinomial divided by a binomial. So again, if we're going to divide, we have to divide the same thing out of everything. So my common factor between those is 1. So because we're dividing by a binomial, our rules are going to be different. So that means that we either need to use long division or synthetic division. Okay? And we're going to go over those examples in the next video.